In the early 1930s, as the Great Depression gripped the United States, two young outlaws from Texas captured the nation's imagination and terrorized its heartland. Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow, lovers and partners in crime, became symbols of rebellion and desperation in a time of economic despair. Their story, steeped in violence, romance, and defiance, remains one of the most enduring legends of American folklore. This is the true account of their lives, crimes, and untimely deaths, a tale of two restless souls who chose a path of lawlessness over submission to a broken system. Bonnie Elizabeth Parker was born on October 1st, 1910, in Rowena, Texas. A bright and spirited girl, she excelled in school, showing a flair for poetry and drama. But her family's poverty, worsened by the Depression, stifled her dreams of a better life. At 16, she married Roy Thornton, a petty criminal, but the marriage crumbled as Thornton drifted in and out of jail. By 1930, Bonnie was back in Dallas, working as a waitress, her ambitions curtailed by circumstance. It was here, at a friend's house, that she met Clyde Barrow, a moment that would alter the course of her life. Clyde Chestnut Barrow, born March 24th, 1909, in Tellico, Texas, was the fifth of 8 children in a dirt-poor farming family. The Barrows moved to Dallas's west side, a slum known as the Devil's Back Porch, where Clyde's early brushes with the law began. A small, wiry young man with a sharp mind and a taste for trouble, Clyde started stealing cars and robbing stores as a teenager. By the time he met Bonnie, he was already a seasoned criminal, having served time in the brutal Easton prison farm, where beatings and abuse hardened his resolve to never return. Clyde's hatred for the prison system and his yearning for freedom fueled his reckless ambition. Their meeting in January 1930 sparked an immediate bond. Bonnie, 19, was drawn to Clyde's charisma and defiance. Clyde, 20, saw in Bonnie a kindred spirit unafraid of his dangerous world. Within weeks, their romance was sealed, but trouble followed fast. Clyde was arrested for burglary and sent to jail. Bonnie smuggled him a gun, and he escaped, only to be recaptured and sentenced to 14 years at Easton. Released on parole in February 1932 after faking a medical condition, Clyde emerged embittered and determined to live outside the law. Bonnie, loyal to a fault, chose to join him, and the Barrow Gang was born. The gang, a loose-knit group that included Clyde's brother Buck, Buck's wife Blanche, and various drifters like W.D. Jones and Raymond Hamilton, began a spree of small-time robberies across Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Arkansas. They targeted gas stations, grocery stores, and banks, rarely netting more than a few $100s. Their crimes were bold but sloppy, marked by shootouts and narrow escapes. Bonnie, often portrayed as a gunslinging femme fatale, was more lookout than triggerman, though she carried a pistol and wasn't afraid to use it. Clyde, the gang's leader, was a skilled driver and a crack shot, his ruthlessness growing with each encounter with police. The Barrow Gang's exploits, exaggerated by sensationalist newspapers, turned them into folk heroes for some and public enemies for others. To the disenfranchised, Bonnie and Clyde were modern Robin Hoods, striking back at banks that foreclosed on farms and homes. But their victims, store clerks, bank tellers, and lawmen, told a different story. Between 1931 and 1934, the gang was linked to at least 13 murders, including 9 police officers. Their violence was indiscriminate, often erupting in panic firefights during botched robberies. In one infamous incident in Joplin, Missouri, in April 1933, the gang killed 2 officers during a raid on their hideout, leaving behind a cache of guns, stolen goods, and Bonnie's poetry, which newspapers eagerly published. Bonnie's poems, scribbled in a notebook during long drives or hideouts, revealed her awareness of their doomed path. In the story of Bonnie and Clyde, she wrote, "Someday, they'll go down together and they'll bury them side by side." Her words blended bravado with fatalism, capturing the couple's acceptance of their likely end. Their love, intense and unshakable, was the heart of their story. They wrote letters to each other during Clyde's brief imprisonments, and Bonnie's devotion never wavered, even as the noose tightened around them. The gang's nomadic life was grueling. They lived in stolen cars, slept in woods or abandoned barns, and survived on stolen food and adrenaline. Constantly on the run, they crisscrossed the Midwest, evading posses and roadblocks. Their legend grew with each daring escape, like the time they shot their way out of a police trap in Dexter, Iowa, in July 1933, leaving Buck mortally wounded and Blanche captured. Yet the law was closing in. Frank Hamer, a legendary Texas Ranger, was hired to hunt them down, and he tracked their movements with relentless precision. By 1934, Bonnie and Clyde were exhausted, their gang depleted. Buck was dead, Blanche was in prison, and others had deserted or been arrested. The couple, now in their mid-20s, knew their time was running out. They returned to Texas, hiding out near Dallas, where their families occasionally sheltered them. On May 23, 1934, Hamer and his posse set an ambush on a rural road near Gibbsland, Louisiana. Acting on a tip from a gang associate's father, they waited in the pre-dawn haze. When Bonnie and Clyde's stolen Ford, the 5th 8 approached, the posse unleashed a hail of bullets, over 130 rounds in seconds. The car veered off the road, and the Outlaws were dead before it stopped. Bonnie was 23, Clyde 25. The aftermath was chaotic. Crowds swarmed the bullet-riddled car, stealing souvenirs like pieces of Bonnie's dress or Clyde's tie. Their bodies, displayed in a Dallas funeral home, drew thousands of gawkers. Newspapers splashed their story across front pages, cementing their myth. Bonnie's mother, Emma, and Clyde's mother, Kimmy, mourned privately, insisting their children were more than the monsters portrayed. The couple was buried separately, despite Bonnie's wish to lie together, their graves becoming pilgrimage sites for those drawn to their tragic tale. Bonnie and Clyde's legacy is complex. They were not heroes, nor were they mere villains. They were products of their time, desperate, defiant, and deeply human. The Depression's cruelty shaped their choices, and their crimes reflected a society fraying at the edges. Their story, immortalized in ballads, books, and films, resonates because it speaks to the allure of rebellion and the cost of living without rules. Bonnie's poetry, Clyde's letters, and the grainy photos of them posing with guns and cigars reveal a mix of bravado and vulnerability, two kids who loved fiercely and died young. Their 1934 Ford, now displayed in a Nevada casino, remains a relic of their fleeting, violent lives. The bullet holes tell a story of a nation at war with itself, where desperation bred outlaws and outlaws became legends. Bonnie and Clyde didn't rob banks to change the world. They did it to survive it. In the end, they paid the ultimate price, their names forever linked in a story that refuses to fade.